Hello guys. I literally, this is the third time I've gone live today, and I'm testing out, look, Chancey already wants to come to bed. I'm testing out, different time of day, with going live and what that difference is. Of course, I didn't mean to already, like, put my bonnet on, but I did. I'm sitting in bed because it's like 7:14. Dang, 7:14. I'm ready for bed anyways. I barely did any homework today, but I did some homework. Look, how have others listened to you with empathy? Like, I was trying to do that. Of course, nobody's doing that part of the homework. And then there's, like, a bigger part of the homework that I'm not there. Today, I guess, was just a break day in general, but I don't like that. I don't know. I'm one of those people. I gotta get everything done now, and not everything that I wanted to get done today got done. And then tomorrow, which I'm not complaining because I need hours from work, because I need money. They gave me more hours tomorrow, which is fantastic. Thank you, work, because they had cut my hours really badly, and they gave me a longer shift tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, thanks. And I am trying to look for a picture. I don't like the way my new phone is. It's not. It's an Android, and it's not Samsung. Is that what I'm trying to say? I don't freaking know. I'm not into, I don't know technology. I'm really bad about it. I don't know. But I don't like the way it has my phone organized with pictures. It's just weird. My cat's meowing. He needs to go eat. He needs to go eat. He's being silly. But I am trying to look for my camera. And then look at this that I clicked on. That is for in the journal submission. Okay, this is for the post. For your response post. Yeah, okay, so I'm see, look, even right now, like sometimes when I get on live, like a lot of people at a time would be coming through, and I don't understand why that hasn't been happening today. Anyways, the second time I went live during the day, I got a little pop of people, which was good, but right now that's not what's happening. So I guess I'm just frustrated because YouTube didn't really work out today either. Because if it's not work that I'm doing, then it's school. If it's not school, then it's YouTube. If it's not that, it's taking care of the hats, the cats, the home. You know what I'm saying? So I took a picture like I would possibly do schoolwork at work. But I don't think so. I don't think so. So I don't even know why I'm bothering trying to look at this again. I just need to wait. I have Sunday off. Maybe I'll get feedback on Sunday because I tried to ask the class. That's what I was gonna say. I tried to ask the class, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people aren't even focused on next week's assignment, which is what I'm doing. I'm doing next week's assignment already. And yeah, I'm pretty sure people aren't even focusing on that. That's just me because I'm just taking one class right now, so I'm ahead. But see, describe your perceptions regarding receiving feedback. How does receiving feedback make you feel? How can you improve your reaction to feedback? In this journal submission, you will describe how you give and receive feedback. You will reflect on past feedback and how it has shaped your approach to receiving feedback now. You will also discuss the impact that diversity awareness has on communication, collaboration, and feedback situations. Finally, you will describe strategies you can use when interacting with people with diverse backgrounds. So there's 4 things I have to talk. Describe how you can use past feedback to inform how you give and receive feedback now. What have you learned from past experiences in which you received feedback? How can you apply what you learned to future feedback situations? Describe the impact that diversity awareness has on giving and receiving feedback when communicating, collaborating with others. Describe how you can use strategies for interacting with diverse groups of people as you give and receive feedback. Submit your journal as a one-page Microsoft Word document with 12 point blah 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 blah. I know about that. No sources are required. It should be easy enough, but I'm making it way more difficult than what it has to be. So I should really just put it to the side. I don't even have to get on my computer to work on that because I took a picture of it. And until somebody gets back to me online, then I can work on it. But until then, I need to stop looking at it. I already ate some dinner. I watched Dancing with the Stars. I don't get to watch it on Tuesday because I'm usually working late. What I need to do is finish reading this book because I am halfway done with it. And I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 points. 10 stars, 5 out of 10 stars. It's not a bad book, but it's not the best book. It's like, I want it to be better, and like 1 second it'll be like, and then the next second I'm like, So, it's not... And I like short horror books, novels, but this one isn't cooking all the way. Let me see where all my stuff is. Okay, I still got that. It's 7:20. And also, guys, look at these. Monster High. And there's a horrible glare, but Monster High. Oh my gosh. Are you guys here for the Monster High, or are you here for the woodworm book? Layla Martinez. I was just talking about that. Do you guys like reading? Do you guys like comic books? Because I was just about to say if I should read woodworm on here. What if I just read it out loud and like have you guys pass through, since it's just me currently? Let's see. There, I got the pillow in the way. Okay. We're in the middle. Ooh, chapter 6. See, chapter 6 exactly. How many chapters are in this? No, I'm not reading. Ooh. Ooh, we got 4 chapters left. There's only 10 chapters in this. We gotta read this. Let's see if I can finish reading this with you guys, okay? Let's see what happens. You guys are in the middle of this book. So, you guys are just coming into this. See if you like it. If not, then don't go find the book and read the beginning of it. All the women in this family are widowed quick. The men burn out on us like church candles, and not long after we're married, all that's left of them is a stain on the sheets that won't come off for all the scrubbing in the world. My mother used to say this house dries them out from the inside, and she should know, because when we removed a brick to see my father, he was crisp as esparto grass. I must have been about 8 and I'd come home in a rage because Matilda's youngest had told me my father wasn't killed in the war. He'd run off with one of his sluts. Oh, what's the language have to do with this? What do you care what that goody-goody says? My mother replied. Does she think we don't know how many people were taken on little walks because of her family of snitches? I slammed the door as I left the kitchen, snarling and snapping like a dog. My mother followed me out and grabbed my arm, digging her nails and pulling me toward the stairs. I'll show you where your father is, if that's what you want. Don't you worry, she muttered as she dragged me up. When we reached the bedroom, she let me go and heaved the wardrobe away from the wall. Then she hiked up her skirt, kneeled down by the wall, and pulled out a loose brick 4 rows from the ground. There he is, she said. The house had eaten his flesh, but left his skin, which was sticking to his bones. He had a funny look on his face. I remember it as if he were right here in front of me now. He was sitting on the floor with his back against the far wall. His head had flopped to one side, and his mouth was hanging open, as if he dislocated his jaw. It looked like he was screaming in agony. He's got no eyes, I said, turning away from the hole. He doesn't need them in there, my mother replied, and she pushed me out of the way. My mother had loosened the brick 2 years before. Once the victors stopped sniffing around for the men who'd left home to escape the war, because by then they'd killed them all. Even those hiding out in the hills picked off one by one like roe deer. Since then, not a day had passed when she didn't look in on my father to reassure herself that he was still there. That agonized look on his face never failed to make her smile. Then she'd put back the brick, push the wardrobe into place, and make the sign of the cross. May death bring him all the suffering he should have been dealt in life. My husband was also dried up from the inside out. He was wasted away in bed, and the same year we got married. Oh, he wasted away in bed the same year we got married. He grew weaker and weaker, and before long he couldn't even move. The flesh fell from his bones, and his skin turned yellow. My mother and I had the doctor out plenty of times whenever my husband was burning up, but he could never decide what was wrong. He'd give him an injection, charge me a small fortune, and then leave the way he came, abandoning the poor man to his fits and ravings. I knew none of that would help. The saints had told me as much. But Pedro had always been a gentleman with me, and I wasn't going to let him die like a dog. The Haribos paid for the burial. As a token of appreciation for their foreman, they said. I saw red when they took center stage at the funeral. The señora even managed a few tears. Plenty of people offered them condolences. I'm sorry for your loss, they said, as if that family had ever lost anything. That's when they took a dislike to me. The señora noticed the way I looked at her. Someone must have told them what I'd said at the service, that if they really cared about their foreman, they'd have paid for his medicine, not his burial. I wasn't bothered. I said it good and loud so that anyone who wanted to could hear. They should have gone a doctor down from Cuenca if they appreciated him that much, or from Madrid, one of those they met at their dinner parties with the Generalissimo. Excuse me if I'm saying things horribly wrong. The señora began to despise me with a hatred she usually reserved for the kinds of people worthy of her attention. Not the disdain she'd had for me when I was her maid, but a deep loathing she didn't try to hide, and that only grew as the days went by. I preferred her loathing to her indifference, because of at least then I could give her something to hate me for. But it's also true that hatred brings trouble in its wake. She started making up stories, hinting that we'd done something to Pedro, saying he'd been a healthy young man till he walked through our door. She'd whisper this stuff to anyone who'd listen, telling them we must have put something in his food, insinuating that he wasn't the father of my daughter, accusing me of getting pregnant on purpose to stop him from marrying his girlfriend. It wasn't as easy for her to hurt us now that it didn't work for them, but with that mouth of hers, she poisoned everything she could. Those suck-ups in the village stopped talking to us, as if whoever received the most pats on the head from the master would magically stop being a dog. Of course I didn't let her get away with it. If they thought I had it in me to kill my own husband, I'd at least give them a reason to believe it. First, I dealt with the señora. I asked Carmen to bring me a few strands of the woman's hair from her hairbrush. She slipped them into her apron while cleaning the dressing table and turned up with them the next day. Let's see if we can't make that viper bite her own venomous tongue, she said. My mother and I put the hairs inside a handkerchief and tied it up tight. With every knot, we prayed to a saint, to Santa Dorotea, who came back from the dead with a basket of flowers and fruit, to San Dionisio, who carried his head in his hands, to Judas Iscariote, who hanged himself from a fig tree, to Santa Hima, who saw angels and dead people like we do. Then we dug a hole in the yard and buried it there so nobody would find it, undo the knots. My mother had never made one of those bundles before, but she'd seen her mother do it once, after her boss slapped her in the face for knocking over a glass while serving dinner. The next day, when he went to mount his horse, it kicked out and almost killed him. The animal had never given him any trouble before, but something had gotten into it that morning. The horse left his insides so mangled the doctors had to stitch up his guts. The man ate nothing but soup for the rest of his life, and still he writhed in pain each night. We made our bundle to the best of my mother's memory, using her prayers and the tightest possible knots to stop anything from escaping. Nothing happened the next day, or the day after that. How are they meant to find it buried down there? I said to my mother. Then I went out into the yard, dug it up, and left it in the bedroom wardrobe. 2 days later, the senora fell down the stairs and broke her ankle. Carmen couldn't contain her giggles when she told me how she'd shrieked. But the shadows weren't finished yet. The next week it was the son who fell while out hunting, breaking both wrists. Down at the bar, his friends described how he'd been following the sound of a large animal in the bushes, a snorting they all thought came from a wild boar, and he ended up falling between some rocks without finding any trace of the beast. A few days later, a fire broke out in the senor's study while he was away, and all the papers he kept locked in a drawer were destroyed. If the senora hadn't smelled burning, Carmen said, the whole house would have gone up in flames. In the village, people started to talk because you can put one accident down to chance, but not two, and definitely not three. 3 accidents in the space of a few days means there's bad energy behind it, no matter how much the senora played it down and said it was nothing. Well, it didn't seem like nothing when she was screaming like a banshee, Carmen said as we waited in line for bread, and all the other women tittered. Some of those same women started coming by the house after dark, wanting to use a bit of that bad energy to sort out their own unfinished business, of which they'd always been plenty, and even more since the war. They would sneak out of the village over by the haylofts and cut through the woods so nobody saw them. Some wanted to get revenge for a smack or a beating they'd been stewing over since the carnage that came after the war. Others for a neighbor snitching on them, or for the time their relative tried to flee, and it turned into a manhunt and then into a massacre. I put curses on relatives, policemen, priests, informers, whoever, with all the hatred in these guts of mine, and in the house's guts too, because I knew that once we poor folks started collecting our debts, they wouldn't have so much as pigsty to hide in. Later on, some of them started coming around asking for cures, and I'd give them the 2 or 3 herbs I knew about and tell them one truth and one lie to keep them happy. The truth was always the place where their disappeared father, husband, daughter, or sister was now. Along the cemetery wall, the road to Villalba, the ravine, the hill with the shrine, the whole village packed full of bodies. The lie was that this father, husband, son, or sibling was in heaven, that the saints had told me they were up there with them, and that they sent their love. Then I'd let them stay there and pray with the saint and light a candle for the relatives because they couldn't go and get their bodies and bury them or ask the priests to say a mass. So they'd sit in the kitchen and I'd light the fire to make sure they didn't get cold, and the lie would cheer them up a bit, even if it meant that the shadows they'd brought with them stayed at the house with their mouths full of dirt, or their heads full of holes, or their teeth knocked out with a rifle butt. Some of those shadows would disappear for after a while, and in the end, maybe the angels did come to raise them to heaven, because kids who bleed to death in ravines with their guts hanging out can hardly end up in hell. But the others hid in the pots and under the beds, out of fear or anger, or who knows what, and they never left. Okay, guys. I'm going to leave it there. you guys got a little bit of Woodworm by Layla Martinez. I was just reading this book right here, Woodworm by Layla Martinez. I just read a little bit of it out loud. So if you like books, you could go back to this. But yeah, very interesting book. If you guys subscribe, I am going to head out now. Stay tuned for my weekly uploads, and I don't know, I'm still testing out going live, doing different times of the day, of course, whenever I even get to. So yeah, good night.